How did you get to New York City?
All right. Well, it does go back in a way to my mom. She grew up here in Manhattan, and her side of the family has been here since the Mayflower days.
That's so crazy.
The Dutch settlers. Yeah, so that's kind of wild. But she moved to Rhode Island to go to RISD, where she met my dad. And so that's where I was raised. And so I always kind of knew about New York and would come in for the day or, here and there to visit family. And then when it came time to look at colleges, I was really attracted to NYU, but I was also kind of stressed out by it. So, because I grew up on an island in Rhode Island called Jamestown, which is beautiful. It's surrounded by water, obviously. And I think the hustle and bustle of New York City was like way more than any part of Rhode Island. Even like Providence doesn't come close. So I was kind of like, oh, let me apply, but not tour it. I'm going to get overwhelmed. And then I ended up touring and got overwhelmed and didn't apply. And then ended up at Bard College, which was perfect because it was rural in the Hudson Valley, but with direct access to the city. So I got to know it really well throughout, my 4 years there, doing weekends and random trips, even school trips. We'd come to the Met and stuff like that. But then, so I was kind of dipping my toes. And then when I graduated, I thought about moving either to Hudson, which was up in the Hudson Valley, or coming to New York, but I was still a little overwhelmed. So I moved back to Rhode Island for a little bit, but then ended up in LA because my dad is from California. So I also had been thinking about San Francisco. I almost transferred to the art school over there midway through college. So I was kind of debating between the Bay and LA, and then had a friend from college that was from there, and I kind of just went for it. I was like, sick of the decision fatigue. I'm just going to go to LA and see what happens. And that lasted 7 years. And then all throughout that time, I ended up dating someone from New Jersey. So we would come back and do holidays here. And every time I came home, I would see my friends from college. And it was like, okay, I just need to move here. And so after 7 years, I basically just was like, okay, I need to move to New York. I feel like I understand the city. I'm not overwhelmed by it anymore. I live in Brooklyn, so it's the best of both. And I'm so happy. I will never leave unless it's to Europe or back and forth. But this is my home for sure.
What was the appeal? I mean, when you eventually felt like you were ready to come here, what was so attractive about it?
I mean, just the energy. Like, I feel like it really makes me feel alive. LA, I kind of kept feeling more like sedated in a way, or I kept trying to like wake myself up in a little bit in a way, or feel like, yeah, I'm happy here, right? I'm good. Like, I love it here, right? I did get into film, so that was its own experience working in the art department in the film industry. That was definitely like, wow, I've never experienced this before. And that was exciting. But I didn't really feel like I had a social life outside of film. Like, everything becomes about that industry there. And it's like, I started to realize all the stereotypes about LA have real truth to them. And people were, I still have close friends from over there, but I was really craving the authenticity and just geographically, like the walkability of New York, and just I was starting to realize that like the architecture of a city and the way it's laid out like really affects the culture. And I was really craving how New York is in that way versus LA. I could talk about New York versus LA all day, but I love New York for that reason, the culture.
I know you said you went to Bard. Did you go to Bard for art?
I did. Yeah, I started as a psych major. Because in high school, I took an art therapy, or an art therapist came to my psych class, and I was like blown away. So I've always been interested in that mixture of fields. But I kind of went into college looking for a university that had a strong art program, but I could study other things as well. And I ironically didn't I didn't major in studio art right away, and I ended up not really liking the psych program there. So my second year, I dropped that as a major and just went fully into art, which kind of ironically came about because I realized that I needed art in my life so badly because I decided not to take an art class, and I was like an anxious wreck that whole semester. So, I ended up just fully focusing on art, and the program was amazing. I did installation art as my senior project, and they take senior projects really serious there. So all the art students were given a studio. I mean, varying sizes, but I literally won the lottery and got the biggest studio and was able to transform it into an installation, like an immersive installation. So that's in a way how I got into film. That was kind of the beginning.
Was art a big part of your childhood, your upbringing? Were you always drawn to that medium? And if so, I'd love to hear the details of what you were drawn to, what you were into growing up.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly is just part of me. It always has been part of me, not to sound cheesy, but my parents literally are both professional artists, and it's been just a completely defining factor of my whole life, because it is unique that neither of them ever had a different job. They never had like even a service-based, client-based job. They just make their jewelry. My dad's a sculptor. My mom's a jeweler. And for better or for worse, I've seen that trajectory of the kind of income stability, but then it pays off really well. It's just, it's just wild. And it's been a huge commitment for them. So I grew up seeing that, but literally just also painting and drawing since I was a baby, and kind of messing around with floor plans. Like when I was 3 years old, I was kind of drawing bird's eye view, little 3-year-old drawings of my house. And then when I was 10, I'd come up with my dream house. And in high school, I took AP art, and then also took supporting continuing ed classes at RISD for photography and kind of different design classes. So my parents both really encouraged me and made sure I was in good classes and in summer camps and stuff like that. But it's also just naturally been who I am. I just love art. I have always I don't know if I've considered myself an artist in that way where it's oh yeah, I'm a successful, I don't know. It's a weird conversation that I think people trip up over when they're oh, I'm an artist. But I think I really have always been associated with that since I was a little kid.
Is there a certain medium that you generally were mostly drawn to? I know you said you were drawing and painting when you were growing up. What were you specifically drawn to most, if there was one or two fields?
Yeah, I think drawing has just been very natural to me. Even when I was in school, I was constantly doodling. It's just kind of an intuitive flow that I still have a kind of segment of my work that's kind of sacred geometry doodles that I call intuitive doodles now. But that's just always been something I've done. And then painting, I learned more about formally in college, learning about color theory and all of that. And I think I feel really relaxed when I paint. It's every medium kind of has a different, I'm in a different mindset when I do it, but I also love printmaking. So I would say drawing, painting, printmaking, and then installation art and these kind of 3D worlds has become I guess more my professional realm, while also doing painting commissions and stuff like that.
creation in general.
Yes, I'm just a creative man.
You said, I think, when you were in college that you took your first art therapy class or learned about art therapy for the first time, and that it kind of was formative. It blew your mind.
Yeah.
What about it? What's to know about art therapy? What did you find so interesting about it?
I think so yeah, it was in high school, and it was like a visiting art therapist came and basically explained how they provide how they go about these processes of, I kind of want to start over this answer, but I've always been really interested and fascinated by psychology and the human mind. And I think the art therapist that came to visit my AP psych class in high school showed us this exercise that they do with their clients where they basically tell them like a really simple prompt about what, okay, draw a house, and then just the way a kid or any person really draws that house says different things about maybe their family life, maybe their mindset. Like it's just kind of a different window into their mind or their feelings. And it's like a nonverbal cue into what's going on with them psychologically. And it's never going to be like super cut and dry, of course, but it's just still such an interesting way to kind of interpret or analyze someone's emotions. And, because they would kind of draw conclusions like, okay, when this kid drew a house, did they draw grass around it? Did they ground it? Did they draw a path up to the door? Are there people in the window or even just around it all? Is the cloud really dark and gray, or is it sunny? And is there a chimney? Like they all had these different explanations that I thought were like really interesting, and it just kind of opened up my mind in a new way. So ever since taking just psych class in general, I was like, I want to do this, and I love people, and it's still a huge passion of mine. My sister actually is a psychologist, so she's 3 years younger, and she didn't really take on the artist kind of passion. I think it's in there somewhere for her. I've seen her work that she did do some art in high school, and it was like, damn, Nina, okay. And actually, I think she's been drawing more recently, she told me. But yeah, so she's fully a therapist. Like she has one more year of her grad school program, and she's seeing clients already. So she's incredible. I kind of still want to like do workshops and kind of get back into the art therapy type world since I dropped psych as a major. And I'm like, maybe we can collaborate. She can have the degree and I can have the art degree, and she can be the reputable therapist and I can just have the intuition behind it all, I guess.
The art therapy generally is geared towards children, or are there many layers to this, right? Like, so the way you just described being like analyzing a kid's drawing or painting is sort of a way to have a conversation and potentially a window into their psyche. Mm-hmm. Are there other forms of art therapy that you're aware of that would maybe be applicable to people who are older?
Oh yeah, there's all types, and I'm still learning. Like that's the thing. I do kind of want to actually take a class, or I'm starting to read books more. But there's all forms. I mean, even that one alone, I think you could do with an adult, but there's also like the classic Rorschach tests. Those are older, and kind of helped define the field, but it is definitely an underrated field, I think, in general. Like not as many people go to that as a, people are just starting to get comfortable with going to therapy in general. I feel like it's not as stigmatized as it was for like our parents per se, but in terms of my own practice and the ways I've been starting to think about art therapy is more kind of this mindfulness practice of being in the moment and also just using your hands in a way that takes you out of your head or off your phone, as a way of getting non-artists to be creative and like all these different ways of doing that can, it can either be for the purpose of, I guess diagnosing in a more formal setting, or for me, it's more about just connecting with people and getting them to take literally get out of their heads by using their hands and breaking that stigma of I'm not an artist, and being just creative and using tools. And I've been starting to do these workshops at Recess Grove and a few different places throughout New York where we just invite people from all backgrounds to come hang out and make collages. And collage is a really cool kind of not intimidating way for people to make art and sift through the magazines and pull out images they're interested in. And you can go about it in all these different ways. And then kind of think about a composition. Like it's a very good beginner's practice, I think. But I have so many ideas of other practices, even like India ink. There were some drawing classes that we did in college that were just based on kind of Zen mark making, like not having a goal in mind, not having something representative that you're trying to draw, like a house or a figure. Like it's just abstract marks on a page. And I think there's just a lot of ways that you could either read into that, like a Rorschach test, or just have it be for the person making it as like a process-based kind of cathartic activity.
Yeah. You majored in art in college, it sounds like, after you dropped the psych pursuit. Was there a specific studio art? What does that mean exactly?
That was just Bard's way of calling it, I think for some reason they just didn't call it fine art, maybe because it's more experimental. Like their program specifically definitely encouraged experimentation and not this kind of formal design-based art making that RISD focuses on. That's where my parents went. And I had a professor, Judy Pfaff. She's amazing. She's an installation artist, super well known. They had amazing faculty at Bard that are all crushing it. They all are asked and required to be practicing artists, not just faculty. Jeffrey Gibson was another professor of mine who has been crushing it. He was in the Venice Biennial. He was in the Whitney recently, all over the place. But anyway, Judy used to work at RISD, and she was like, wow, being at Bard is so refreshing. People will just take a hammer to a locker and call it art. And at RISD, it's all this focus on specific, detail-oriented craft. Technique. And I think there's good, both things have a purpose. I do kind of, I think RISD did amazing things for my parents. They shot out of the gate from graduating even just undergrad and got right into this whole craft field and did really well. They're still got a career going. So
when you graduated, did you have a sense of what ideally you wanted to do? Did you try to go somewhere? I mean, I know you ended up in LA, but what were you aiming
I was
at?
A shit show right after college. It was this similar feeling of I've had all this structure and now I just don't. And now I have all these, it's like a sea of options. And I was having decision anxiety and paralysis, really. There was a art program that in hindsight I think would have been a great thing to do through Bard, which was kind of like a training camp for artists that want to actually be practicing artists in New York City. I don't know, didn't end up doing that. And then was just kind of I want to be, I don't know. I loved the installation art stuff, but I don't think I understood how to make that a career. It kind of, that was in 2015 and it kind of has exploded as an industry since then. I had one classmate that really did continue making his senior project for years. and worked with Meow Wolf and everything, and was able to like kind of have an artistic career based on his senior project, basically, which was amazing. So I think I wasn't really sure how to actually make that a tangible reality. And that's where I kind of just chose my location first. Like, I just want to be in a big city where I'm not surrounded by people that I've known my whole life or that I'm super close with, just to like see where I can get myself on my own and just like drop myself in a new place and then go from there. And luckily what happened, or kind of serendipitously, was my roommate situation was a household full of filmmakers. We were all living in Echo Park. I only knew my one friend from college who was a film major at Bard. And this other girl was a production designer. And while I was kind of bumbling around looking for jobs in LA, actually, I was interviewing at Restoration Hardware, so that is actually where I ended up for 2 years, was doing interior design. Kind of once I decided to move to LA, I started looking for jobs. And so I found that on Indeed, and that interview process took like 3 to 6 months. It was kind of crazy, but within that time, I was able to kind of just follow this friend / roommate around on her different jobs as her set dresser. Because she saw that work from senior year. So she saw my installation art, which was this like wacky immersive space where I had this kind of stream of consciousness process throughout the year where I was slapping things on the wall and tracing shadows. It was all about shadows and light and reflections. Like, I had a mosaic of mirror shards coming out from the corner of the room. And if you walked up to it, your reflection was like very fragmented. And the rest of the room was like all these shadows of the structures that were in the space, but like painted on the wall with this like very matte black paint that looked like shadows. So it was kind of a giant walk-in optical illusion. And when she saw that, she was like, okay, like, you understand light. I mean, like, design and space, and sure, you can be my set dresser. So it was kind of lucky that I was able to like get on set with her and actually get paid, because that's the other thing. You have to kind of, when you're just starting out in film, you just have to be a free agent or like unpaid intern is what I've heard and know. So yeah, did that for a while, and then finally got the opportunity at Restoration Hardware. And that was a good, exciting, like, corporate job. I was working in this really beautiful, fancy gallery on Melrose Avenue, selling furniture and designing in the moment and whatever. But then that kind of got really stale after 2 years because their furniture is vanilla. It's just like grayish, the beige foundational, kind of furniture. I like to look at it as like solid furniture that you have as like your first layer in your home, and then you add your personality on top of that. But they didn't really like you doing that for your clients. They just wanted you to just be by the book and sell their furniture as is. So yeah. And then I met people from film at that job too, and then kind of got this opportunity to be a PA for the art department on an HBO pilot called Three Busy Debras, which is now, I think they have at least one season on HBO, and it's a lot of Upright Citizen Brigade gals being quirky fembots in this like Stepford Wife quirky world. So it was a really funny experience to be like on the back lots in LA where they've filmed all these other kind of suburban style shows, and making quirky props. And it was like a month-long gig. So I basically was like, okay, that's enough time. That's solid. That's something. That's not like a 2-day gig that I'm leaving my full-time thing for. So I essentially gave them 3 days notice I gave my corporate job 3 days notice to then work on this set. And then that kind of just turned into what is now my freelance career, like 8 years later. So it's kind of wild.
For people who don't know the term, what exactly is installation art? What does that mean?
So it's site-specific 3D art. It's kind of a unique space to be in, or a medium, because it's not really like traditionally sellable like you would sell a painting, or it's like a one and done like cohesive piece. It's usually seen at museums or galleries, or and I did start out, when I did get to LA, I started doing kind of just on my own time for fun, was making installation art pieces for parties. So it was kind of like these art parties that would be multimedia, and there'd be a lot of different things going on, and I would just kind of decorate like one corner of the space or take over a room. I would say it's a 3D space that I don't know, that it can take a lot of different forms. And I think nowadays this immersive art world is very commercialized, and with all the Van Gogh Museum exhibits, or like even Mercer Labs that's in Lower Manhattan. They like always have these different huge, right now it seems like it's a lot about the projection mapping is kind of the main focus. It's just like really extreme digital imagery and motion graphics that's projected in a completely immersive way. But installation art is much more than that, I think. It can just be as simple as like, I think Tara Donovan is an installation artist that's gotten pretty, like, very well known for taking one small item and repeating it, just having like thousands of the same item in a pile in a space, but arranged in a really unique way. So it's kind of often about scale, I would say.
When you got back to New York, or when you came to New York, did you have a sense of the kind of work you wanted to do? And I'd be curious to know how you hit the ground running, just trying to survive here while still doing art.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like when I moved to New York, I definitely was craving something other than just film. Like, I knew that, for example, the window display industry here is a lot. I mean, it frankly just is an industry here. It doesn't exist in LA because there's just not that like walking passerby. And so I definitely wanted to get into that. And I've kind of gotten my foot in at Ralph Lauren, so assisting for their holiday decor. And, I was just there this week helping their next changeover is what they call it. So their next round of decorations throughout the year. And that's been cool. But yeah, I was also kind of just taking a breather too. Like, I definitely felt like when I left LA, I was like, I was kind of tapped. I was a little bit like, I've just been working my ass off for 7 years. And I mean, frankly, I was also in kind of a stressful relationship that ended when I moved. Like, it was kind of like okay, I'm just fully changing my life right now. And it was nice to just be able to be here and do a combination of seeking stuff and reaching out to new people, but also letting the cards kind of fall naturally. So I was able to meet people that introduced me to other people. And, like a friend I had met a few years ago, we went and got drinks and she invited the girl from Ralph Lauren. And then we hit it off and she hit me up the next week and I was available. And that just opened up all this work that's like, she's not even at Ralph Lauren anymore, but it's turned into all this other freelance stuff. So yeah, it's been a combination of, I think the main thing with being freelance is expanding your network. Like, you just have to have the people that do the hiring know who you are. And I've definitely met a good range of producers and people running like that company Pop-Up Mob, these retail activations. I think I was really craving like in-person experiences, like really trying to go back to the installation art of it all, because I got a little disillusioned with film because you do so much. Like art department gets just really not enough credit so often. And there's all these other players and decision makers and factors that come into play that might make it so that all your hard work never gets seen. Like it's never even released, or that scene got cut, or who knows? And you have no control over that. And you still did your best. You showed up. And then once the job is done, once the shoot is over, you're no longer part of that project at all in the art department. So you might be notified when it gets published, by the producer, depending on what kind of thing it is. Or, I've also had really satisfying projects where they go to Tribeca and like you get to go be on the red carpet and awards happen and all that. So it's like, it's both really exciting and also really disheartening, because I think personally too, like it was always about the art and the design and not so much about film as a medium for me personally. Like I have people, my mentor / someone I've worked with so much in that industry, she's been in it even longer than me. She's like a filmmaker. Like she loves it. She wants to make her own films. Like just that medium is her passion, and less like visual fine art. And I'm more on the other side. Like I just love art and design and making stuff. And at this point, I think my passion is getting people creating experiences for people, really. And that's kind of where the psychology of it all comes into play. Like, I just want people to be able to experience what I have made, not in a like an ego-based thing, but just that's what I want out of it, is to be able to see it and have it have a little bit more impact than just this shoot that goes into oblivion, like a whole set that you make and then it comes down after 12 hours and then maybe the footage just never sees the light of day. So, but
given all your time,
or it could be permanent. That's the other thing about film. Once it is out there, it's forever. So that can be really cool. Once it's done and it's really well made, it's forever. So
given your time in the film industry, what surprised you about that world, if anything, that has stayed with you?
What surprised me? I think parts of that whole element that I just described is what surprised me, and it kind of disappointed me at the same time. Honestly, everything, though, was surprising in a way, because I had no preconceived notions of what that industry was about. Never took a film class, I went to like one summer camp, I think, when I was like 12, and we made a music video. And it was like a fun filmmaking thing, but in no way did I like associate myself with filmmaking until I was kind of thrown into it. And then it definitely felt like it worked. Like I do feel very like when you're on a job and it's going well, or even just no matter what, it's like so thrilling. Like it kind of feels like its own experience in itself, of course. But yeah, it's wild. It's like drugs. Like it's like there's this kind of running joke where it's like, okay, in the film industry, it's kind of got this toxic mentality or culture that's like everyone's working so hard and it's always about the hustle, and you have 12-hour days. That's like normal. 12 to 14 to 15. I've been on set for 24 hours before for a Nicki Minaj shoot, because she decided to show up at 3 a.m. after we had been prepping and painting all day. And then I went to sleep for maybe 2 hours and then went to a different scout the next day. So it's just been, I've had experiences like that for years. And now I'm like letting my nervous system breathe for a bit. But I would say it's kind of like oh my God, I hate this when you're in it. Like, I can't wait for this to be over. And then when it's over, you're like depressed because you want it back again. You're like, when's the next gig going to happen? Like, I'm so excited. Let's do it again.
Sounds like a toxic relationship.
Exactly. And it is. And so there's like a lot of emotions and social dynamics. Like, it's also kind of about dating, like, or similar to dating in terms of being a freelancer in the film industry. Like, you always want to seem like you're busy and available, and like you don't want to seem like you're just not working, and then you don't want to ask people if they need you either. It's kind of a funny like balance. I don't know. And all these dynamics. It's not like a normal corporate situation at all.
You mentioned when in New York, the importance of meeting people, especially as a freelancer, to create opportunities. I'd love to hear about what has worked for you, if anything, in that department, and how you've tried to design your life to make luck your ally and more likely in your career.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think when your network is your primary source of getting work, I feel like saying yes, like don't shut down any phone call just because you think it might not be the right thing. Say yes to everything, especially when you're first starting out. At least have the conversation, and then be more choosy once you have experience or whatever the factors are. Always say yes, always be respectful, always show up on time, like be reliable, so that no matter how the job ends up going, because there are always so many factors at play that might not always be your fault or whatever it is, as long as you're showing up and you're being respectful and people feel like they can trust you, then that'll go a long way in them wanting to call you back. And I think with jobs or people that I've worked with that I'm like maybe not going to call back, it's kind of like, it doesn't feel, this is another example of like the subtleties of freelance work and film. No one's going to get mad at you if you mess something up in the moment, but they'll remember it later and then not hire you again, maybe. But like in the moment, everyone just has to work together and like get the thing done. That's where it's like real teamwork at its core is filmmaking. And just there's no point in dwelling. There's no time for that. You just have to keep moving forward. So I think just making sure in terms of like, continuing to work with people that you like working with. It's just kind of a mixture of, just establishing a mutual respect for each other, and then kind of in different subtle ways reminding them that you're there, or that, so that's the thing. Sometimes you just fall into a pattern with people and they know that you're top of mind. So they just keep coming back in that span. Okay, we just finished this one. Great job. I have this other one coming up. And then it's like boom, boom, boom. And then other times it's like they know about you still, but maybe just don't have a project, and it might take kind of a random interaction or a random thing to come up for where they're like, oh, right. Yeah, you'd be great for this. So you kind of want to just make yourself known, I guess, to people.
Creating the opportunities in the first place, though, before you get the job, or that there's work involved in that, I would imagine as well. How did you think about that when you moved here, and what worked in terms of networking or just leveraging your own personal network, your friends, to get work in the first place?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of like really just sitting and doing my kind of homework, which was making a deck of like my past work, my portfolio, making sure my website's up to snuff and like looks good and updated. And then kind of being organic about it. Like that's the thing where I think I have both trusted the process. Things tend to land in my lap right when I need them. Like, okay, I just had my, financially, it's like, okay, just paid rent, got the last thing. What's the next thing? And then as soon as I start to feel like, okay, maybe I should start to search for the next gig, something comes up. So I think part of that has to do with I personally I wear a lot of hats and I do work in a lot of different fields. So being here just through referrals, or again, I can't even describe or explain exactly how I've gone about getting the gigs that I've gotten since being in New York, but I'm open to scenic painting, like someone I worked with on set through a different person I know in LA. She's a producer, but she also works for HelloFresh, and she remembered me as an artist as well as a set decorator and was like, hey, we have to get these panels made for backdrops for our like food photo shoots. Do you want to do those for us? I'm like, hell yeah, that sounds great. And then I got to use my more like fine art painting skills, but it was also a similar kind of adjacent to film. I mean, scenic painting is a role within the film industry. So I was essentially doing that for that gig. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm like open to graphic design. I have, I'm able to do a lot of different things that kind of come up in different ways.
Do you feel like of all the different art worlds that you have dipped your toe into, you have the most talent in one?
Yeah, I think what I've learned I'm really good at is this. I think art directing is a specific role that I've found does apply to multiple industries, and that art directing in that it's a combination of coordinating, executing, and design. So it's kind of like, if I were to describe the whole A to Z process that I feel like I've gotten really good at, is taking a reference or inspiration, whatever the pitch is, right? Whatever the concept is that either the director has or the client, whatever it is, here's what we want. Then kind of breaking that down into, okay, where is this happening? How are we going to achieve this? Looking for my own reference images of like kind of interpreting it in a new, more concrete way. And then moving into, how do we execute this as an actual design? And somewhere in between that is like kind of responding to the original pitch with my design, which are drawings, models, plans, references. Like, this is what we're going to actually do for the set or for the pop-up or whatever it is. And then within all of that, once it's approved, actually executing. So finding the set elements, finding the materials, knowing what materials are best, measuring the space, making sure the logistics are all going to work out, renting a truck, finding people that are willing, able-bodied, and like skilled, and knowing which person is going to be better for which role. Like, I wouldn't hire a painter necessarily to come in and lift a bunch of heavy furniture. It's like, and maybe those people, someone can do both. I don't know, but you just have to kind of know how to delegate, have your network. That's the other thing when you're hired as a production designer or art director, you kind of then have to hire your own crew and you operate as your own little department. So you have to work with people you trust too. Like, your team really is a huge part of getting the job done in a good way, in a successful way. So, and I think within all of that, I am very hands-on. I'm able to be resourceful because I can physically myself either paint or do some light fabrication or go out and shop. Like, I sift through Facebook Marketplace all the time, even though some people just would rather just go rent it from a rental shop or prop house, or, it just depends. Depends on your budget, depends on all these different factors. But I am really good at kind of being crafty and getting down to the nitty gritty, and just like, I'm a hands-on doer. And I think as well, I'm very creative and I am a good artist. I will just say that I do feel confident about my actual painting. And that's kind of a separate thing that I'm still always trying to keep up and be active as an actual painter that sells my work and is known for a certain style and is recognized in galleries. So that's always kind of happening on the side.
I don't know how much time you have outside of your work to actually enjoy the art that is in this city generally, but I'd love to hear about what your favorite venues are, what you like to go do, and maybe with a bias towards hidden gems that you know about that you think are just amazing that exist in New York.
I mean, it's infinite. I love, I guess in terms of big institutions, I love the Whitney. The Met is amazing and overwhelming at the same time.
I was here yesterday.
Yeah, nice. And then like I love the Lower East Side galleries. Like there's so many that are both really famous. Like
what's down there?
Pace Gallery, like all the Chelsea area, it kind of bleeds. It's all Lower Manhattan, but anywhere from the High Line area over to the East Village, like there's so many galleries along like Delancey and Essex, like that kind of area. This one I was just introduced to named Trotter and Scholler is a cool gallery. I mean, I kind of just follow my friends that are artists on Instagram. Like I met a friend through the Ralph Lauren job who does his own work on the side as well as these kind of freelance floral installation gigs. And he had an opening and I went to it and then met this guy, Parker Calvert. He does these amazing shows. He runs the New York City Culture Club. So that kind of opened up a whole network of galleries. And he's the one that told me about Trotter and Scholler. I don't know. It's like you just go to events. I think going to art openings is really fun. I've found that I like to go alone, not with like my friends or anyone that I'm trying to be social with, because I do really like meeting new people and interacting within that space.
Such a good point.
Yeah, I kind of realized that.
Tough to meet new people when you're with a crew.
Yeah, because then I feel like I'm hosting in a way. Like I went to a gallery that I showed at, it just opened on Nassau. It's really cool. It's called Gallery Art and like ampersand, brand new. Shout out to Melissa. She's really cool. She owns it. And I submitted and as part of her open call and then was part of a group show. And so she's been having other openings as well. And I brought some friends and I just felt like they were all bored. And I was just trying to keep talking to everyone else that was there, like the artist whose show it was and the gallery owner. And I felt like it was more like, okay, this is just my thing. Like, I don't want to feel like I have to now introduce you to all these people. Like it was just a new experience. I realized where I'm like, I think I like going to these alone better. Just be a person within the space versus like, it's not like a social thing for me other than meeting other artists.
Any other venues or, I don't know, just festivals or activities in New York that you think are great? Obviously, there are a ton of studios that are in the city, but other things that just as an artist you view as unique to New York or amazing to New York, or you want to check it out for the first time and haven't had a chance yet?
I mean, again, it's endless, but I think Recess Grove has been a great one. That's where Julia and I have both hosted workshops. They're a really cool space because it's very accessible to anyone. It's a cafe and they do like mural and mingle nights on Fridays where anyone can show up and they whitewash the wall and they have paints out for anyone to just kind of throw paint on the wall, like, and just doodle whatever they want. And it's a fun way to just unwind on a Friday night. And then they also have workshops and focused studio memberships. And it's really fun because I feel like they're making art very accessible. And
where is that in the city?
Williamsburg.
Okay.
On Grand Street. So they're awesome. Shout out to Jesse at Recess Grove. And yeah, I mean, I have been following, I think, that space of workshops, which I don't know if it's like trending all of a sudden or I'm just kind of more in that world, but I am loving seeing how many workshops and kind of open-ended, like mindfulness, intention setting type community-oriented things that are going on around maybe just Brooklyn or New York in general. Like, what was the other one? Oh, the New York City Drawing Room. I haven't been there yet, but they do a lot of that kind of stuff and hosting dinner parties that are creative or mindfulness oriented. I've been really inspired by the kind of more, community oriented stuff. And I do feel like I love New York because there's highbrow everywhere. You know, it's known for that. You can get all of the art input you want from all the stimulation from like the classics, the museums, the highbrow galleries, but then also there's so many that are kind of both mid-tier, not as well known or household name type galleries, but also, you know, more rough around the edges, funky art party scene type stuff or vendor markets. You know, I love, there's a full range there, I feel like.
Do you feel like there's still enough opportunity for freelancers in New York to make a good living, to survive?
I mean, it's tough because I will say I was way more consistently busy in LA. I also think LA is struggling now. Like the film industry has just been slammed, you know, between COVID, the strikes, then the wildfires. I mean, LA has had a rough time. And I think New York it's definitely tough. I would say I think I've had a better quality of life in terms of work-life balance. But
in New York.
Yes. And it's among a variety of different industries, which has been fun. But I do feel like there needs to be, I am craving more consistency, like something that's still using these skills, but working for a company that's like consistent. And so that is what I'm actively looking for. Yeah. So that I can paint at home, be on the computer doing design stuff, and then go to a couple activations a month or whatever. That would be ideal. So I guess in a short answer, I would say no. I feel like a lot of people rely on a service job or their non-creative hustle. And I mean, I think it's cool because New Yorkers get it done. Like they figure it out. I don't know how sometimes, like, but they're also not crabby about being servers and having their passion on the side. Like LA people are always like, I do this, but I'm really an actor, you know? And it's like in New York, it's like no one's embarrassed that they're bartending, you know? It's also cool because I mean, I did when I first got here, my friend was serving at the Mulberry, which is this very, you know, hip, cool cocktail bar. All these celebrities go there, and I was doing coat check, and it was a really fun way to meet people.
I bet.
And like really, like I took Ethan Hawke's coat and got to talk to him, Christian Siriano, and then I was on set with Christian Siriano like a few months later, and it was just a cool way to kind of meet people in this casual setting, and they love being there because it's not as hyped as like other places. And then at the same time, I was working this whole other side hustle I've always had and loved is embellishing vintage clothing. So I would wear my designs and get people would just naturally be like, what are you wearing? I'm like, this is my design. And like Wes Duchovny was like, I love that. And she, you know, I gifted some jackets to some people that were DJing there, you know, the muses. I don't know. It's like that can be your way in like socially, you know? So it's like New York is funny because you never know what kind of thing you'll say yes to that could bring you to a whole other realm of something, you know? So
I like to close by asking guests how they think of the word success. And I think you may have just alluded to that to some degree with what you're trying to move into at this point. But if we were to talk in a year or a few years from now, what in your mind would be your definition, your trajectory, your existence that would be aligned with success? How do you think about that word as it applies to you and your career?
Yeah, that's a it's an interesting one because I feel like as artists and creatives, we're all really hard on ourselves. And I think defining that level of success can really shift and shape depending on the day. And I think especially when you're comparing yourself to other people or specific industries, like there are definitely markers that are like, I'm successful because of this. And like, you know, when I look at my film resume, it's like, yeah, you know, I designed a few films that got written up by the New York Times and went to Tribeca, and like that was successful. And there's like these big projects that I feel really proud about. And I do feel like I've had a full resume, and I feel lucky that I have been able to do basically primarily creative jobs, except for my little coat check stint, I guess. But for the past 8 years, and that to me is success. Like I have been able to travel and live freely and be on my own and, you know, work doing what I love for all this time without really having to have a proper boss. I have clients more than I have bosses, really. So that feels like an element of success. I think in terms of like a goal that I have or success in terms of being an artist, I think, I guess getting, you know, it is about getting into a certain caliber of a gallery maybe, or being written up in that world. And I think I'm always kind of juggling, feeling like I have to just commit myself into that field while juggling this art direction career. But maybe I'll just always do both. And I think that feels good too. So success is what you make of it, I suppose.
Love that. Caia, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.